The Galactic Military Academy's xenobiology observation deck fell silent as the alarm blared through the corridors. Instructor Vexthal, a towering Kryn with scales that shimmered like oil on water, clicked his mandibles in what the human cadets had learned to recognize as distress. "Containment breach in Sector 7, he announced, his translator rendering his clicks into crisp universal standard. "A juvenile Rexian mauler has escaped into the training grounds." The observation deck erupted into chaos. Cadets from a dozen species scrambled toward the exits, their survival instincts screaming at them to flee. Rexian maulers were apex predators from a death world classified as Category 9, the same classification as Earth, though most species preferred not to mention that comparison in front of the humans. Ash pressed her face against the reinforced viewport, her breath fogging the glass as she searched the training grounds below. Her short auburn hair was still damp from the morning's zero-gravity combat drill, and her gray academy jumpsuit bore the insignia of a first-year cadet. "There," she whispered, pointing. Alistar moved beside her, his tall frame casting a shadow across the viewport. His dark eyes narrowed as he tracked the creature's movement through the artificial forest below. "It's just a cub," he observed, his voice calm despite the pandemonium behind them. The mauler cub was roughly the size of an earth lion, covered in midnight blue fur that sparked with bioelectric energy. Its 6 legs carried it in a loping gait that was almost playful, and its triple-jawed mouth hung open, revealing rows of crystalline teeth. To every species in the galaxy except one, it was a nightmare made flesh. "Evacuation protocols are in effect," Vexthal announced. "All cadets to the emergency." The viewport shattered. It happened so fast that even the station's AI didn't register the breach until after. The mauler cub, in its confused panic, had somehow scaled the observation deck's exterior and punched through the supposedly indestructible glass. It tumbled into the room in a shower of crystalline fragments, sparking and snarling. The deck cleared in seconds. Cadets from species that had evolved to flee predators did exactly that, their millions of years of evolution screaming at them to run. Even Instructor Vexthal, trained warrior though he was, backed toward the exit, his hand on his plasma pistol. Only 2 figures remained in the observation deck. Ash dropped into a squat, her arms spreading wide in a gesture that every human child knew instinctively. Her face split into a grin that would have terrified most sapient species, a display of teeth that signaled aggression across 1,000 worlds. But not on Earth. "Come here, baby monster," she yelled, her voice carrying that particular pitch that humans reserved for creatures they found adorable. The mauler cub froze, its triple jaws snapping shut, its 12 eyes, arranged in 3 rows across its angular skull, fixed on the strange biped before it. The creature had been born in captivity, raised by handlers who wore full containment suits and treated it with the respect one gave to a tactical weapon. It had never encountered something that saw it and felt joy. Alistar remained standing, his hand resting casually on the emergency medical kit at his belt. He'd seen Ash do this before, not with a mauler obviously, but with plenty of other creatures that the galaxy considered dangerous. Back at the academy on Luna, she'd befriended a Cerellian spikeback that had put 3 Vryn security officers in the medical bay. She had a gift, the other human cadets said, or a death wish depending on who you asked. "Easy, Ash," Alistar murmured, though there was no real concern in his voice. "Remember the safety briefing. Apex predator, 900 pounds of muscle, bioelectric discharge that can stop a Vryn heart." "It's scared," Ash replied, not taking her eyes off the cub. "Look at it. It's just a baby who got lost." The mauler cub took a tentative step forward, its bioelectric fur crackling nervously. Then another. Its body language shifted from predatory to something else, something curious and uncertain. From the doorway, Instructor Vexthal watched in horrified fascination. In his 3 centuries of life, he had never seen anything like this. The human female was using body language that would trigger an attack response in any sensible species. Direct eye contact, exposed teeth, spreading limbs to appear larger. But the mauler wasn't attacking. It was approaching. The cub crossed the deck in a rush, and for one heart-stopping moment, every non-human in the corridor thought they were about to witness a tragedy. But instead of tearing into Ash with those crystalline teeth, the mauler cub pressed its massive head against her chest, its bioelectric fur dimming to a soft glow. Ash's hands came up to scratch behind the cluster of sensory organs that passed for the creature's ears. "There you go," she cooed. "Not so scary, are you? Just wanted someone to give you pets, didn't you, baby?" The Mauler cub made a sound that no recorded Mauler had ever made. A rumbling, purring noise that vibrated through the deck plating. Alistar chuckled, finally allowing himself to relax. "I think you just made a friend." "Impossible," Vexthal whispered, his translator barely functioning through his shock. "Rexian Maulers don't bond. They're not capable of affection." Ash looked up, still scratching the cub's head. "Have you tried asking nicely?" The question hung in the air, simple and devastating. Across the galaxy, species treated Deathworld predators with fear and containment protocols, with electric prods and reinforced cages. It had never occurred to most of them to try kindness, but humans were from a Deathworld too. They had evolved alongside predators just as terrible as the Mauler, and somewhere in their strange evolutionary journey, they had looked at wolves and thought, "Friend." They had seen cats that could kill them and decided to domesticate them. They had built their entire civilization on the radical notion that dangerous things could be loved. As the containment team arrived, moving cautiously, weapons lowered in confusion, they found Ash sitting cross-legged on the deck with a Rexian Mauler cub sprawled across her lap, its 3 mouths slack in contentment as she rubbed its belly. Alistar stood guard nearby, but his posture was relaxed. He'd already filed his incident report in his mind. Cadet Ash successfully contained the escaped specimen using unorthodox but effective methods. No injuries sustained. Recommend revision of xenobiology handling protocols. As they led the now docile cub back to its enclosure, following obediently at Ash's heels like a puppy, the story spread through the academy. Within hours, it had reached the wider galactic military network. Within days, it became another entry in the growing file labeled Human Behavioral Anomalies. But to Ash, it was simple. She'd seen something scared and alone, and she'd done what any human would do. She'd offered it love, and the monster, like so many before it, had understood.